I enjoy running on the trails here at my home. Those of you watching on YouTube can see that we're in a wooded environment, so it makes for a great place to be outdoors. But repeated running began to damage my muscles. Even while strengthening, they became stiff and unpliable. Hey folks, this is Colin Richards, and once again, I'm delighted to be with you in this segment of Lord and Richards Radio. And we're talking about today the pillar of fitness. Of the four pillars, faith, family, fitness, and finance, we want to make sure that we have a body that can support doing the things that we love with the people that we love without having to work for it. That's what we call financial independence. And all of these work together beautifully. But without fitness, a lot of times if we pull that brick out of the wall, the whole wall comes down because we lack the ability, the vitality to really get out there, be active, enjoy being with people. We wind up stuck at home in front of the TV in the armchair, so to speak. And so in a previous segment, I talked about maintaining vitality throughout your longevity. Well, in this segment, I'm going to talk about one of the key elements of maintaining your health throughout all of your years, right into old age, if God blesses you with multiple decades of retirement. And one of those comes from a great example in the area of fitness. His name is Tom Brady. I'm sure he's no stranger to most of you, but Tom Brady had a long and illustrious career in the NFL, particularly with the New England Patriots. And you know that it just seemed like this guy was never going to stop. Long after other quarterbacks were retiring due to injury, due to just generally slowing down from age, which we normally don't think of in our 30s and 40s. But when you're operating as an elite athlete, it really does become a matter of trying to beat the clock. Well, Tom Brady was probably the most successful among the elite quarterbacks in NFL history. You can use whatever numbers and statistics you want to judge it, but he was certainly among the most successful. And he himself, if you'll look up his books, attributes the length of his career to making a key adjustment in his health and wellness after experiencing an injury, a torn ACL years ago in the NFL. Obviously, as a quarterback, he's being struck repeatedly. I mean, it's just the whole goal of the defensive line is to get in there and destroy this person. And these men are not small that are hurtling towards you at light speed, many times 300-plus pound men, wanting to do nothing more than to knock you to the ground and sit on you. What a career. But would you be surprised to know that since that ACL injury, Tom Brady, by his own admission, has experienced no significant injury in his NFL career since that time. And that was more than a decade ago. So as we interview him, so to speak, through his books, through his writings, through the things that he said, one word stands out from Tom Brady: pliability. That's probably a shock to you because we usually think in terms of strength, right? It's important for elite athletes to be strong. Now, let me say this. That is going to be one of the critical elements of fitness as we age, is to maintain strength. Our muscle is an important organ in our body that helps us maintain not just strength, but overall quality of health. And we'll talk about that in other segments. I grew up in a household where exercise and strength training was commended. My own brother was doing it as in his teenage years. I was doing it in my teenage years, running, being involved with sports. I won't say that I was an elite athlete, but at least I enjoyed sports and provided entertainment to others. But I also lifted weights all through my youth. And so maintaining muscle mass is an important strategy. But what can happen is, as we exercise, we may begin to experience injuries. Lifting weights is something that you can do right into old age. Resistance training is important. But what can happen is that you injure your body, particularly by maybe overdoing it or not doing an exercise the right way. So before we build strength, we need to have this concept of pliability and how to achieve it built in. And this is something you can do right now. So consider the benefits of pliability. The way Tom Brady describes it, he talks about flexibility, softness, and lengthening of muscles. Sometimes we get in our mind strength training. Oh, that's a muscle-bound Hulk, right? The Incredible Hulk. Well, actually, in the kind of job that Tom Brady had to do, he needed to function a certain way, and he needed to have flexibility, and he needed to have softness in his muscles. A lot of times that word softness we don't think of positively, but it actually means that the muscles are agile, soft, and when struck, when potentially injured, they react better. Kind of like if you have a hard tire on a car and hit a bump versus a little bit softer tire, right? There's a little bit less jolt in the impact. And so Tom Brady in his various books and in his personal fitness centers has really commended the idea of getting those muscles lengthened, stretched, and softened to avoid injury. I can tell you from my own personal experience, as I have sought to exercise, continue to lift weights throughout my whole life, it's great that I have a good percentage of muscle on my body. That's great. That's going to help me a lot in my later years as well as today. But without an emphasis on flexibility, lengthening, and softening those muscles, even while strengthening them, I became more and more prone to injury and stiffness. As a matter of fact, this last year, for a year prior, I had experienced pain in my leg for so long and at such acute levels, even when sitting, that I thought I was going to have to go into an MRI and maybe potentially face surgery. It was that bad. I enjoy running on the trails here at my home. Those of you watching on YouTube can see that we're in a wooded environment, so it makes for a great place to be outdoors. But repeated running began to damage my muscles. Even while strengthening, they became stiff and unpliable. Think of a rubber band. If you have ever gotten an old rubber band out of the drawer and tried to use it and it just fell apart in your hands, that's what can happen if we don't emphasize stretching and softening our muscles. So here's a low-cost strategy that, fortunately, I put in place as a result of reading this book by Tom Brady and then also putting in place some of the things that he recommends. The low-cost strategy is you can start by getting yourself a foam roller, rolling it out, and doing that just regularly. It may hurt at first. It may be a real challenge, and you don't want to injure yourself, but rolling, lengthening, and stretching those muscles. And you can use little balls to do that, other devices to just physically make contact with that. Now, for those of you who have taken steps toward financial independence and you have a budget to devote towards this, you might consider, if you're beginning to have pain or immobility, using a physical therapist. Right? Often we go first to the doctor. We have insurance. We have a known quantity that we can spend there. And so maybe that's our low-cost option. And he's going to recommend certain things that involve either medication or surgery, right? Usually. What we want to do, though, is if we can begin with physical therapy, we learn how to use our body in such a way that we don't create this pain, this immobility, this inflexibility. And here's another strategy for the financially independent. Why not instead of on the backside having to deal with the pain, why not look into the possibility of working with a trainer? Not all trainers need to be one-on-one. That's a very expensive option. But if you have a budget to set aside a few $100s a month, I have a gym not far from me where maybe 6 or 7 people are being trained simultaneously and have gotten great benefit out of utilizing that. And then here's one more strategy for the financially independent, and that is, why not get different kinds of diagnostics out there and medical intervention other than just the classic surgeries and the medications. I am not a physician, so I think you should talk to a physician about this, but there are advanced treatments coming online even today that have been testing for decades that can help people renew and rejuvenate their lives as well as their bodies. And then last but not least, in our next segment, we're going to be talking about just a few more things that can really change if you'll just change your mindset. You know, all of this is part of what we do at Lord and Richards. It's not that we necessarily are going to spend a great deal of time dealing with your physical fitness in office, but these are the things that people like you are telling me are important. I would love to have a conversation with you about what we can do to help you put a plan in place financially to make sure you can develop not only your health and fitness, but also have the resources to take advantage of time with family and doing the things that you love. It simply starts with a phone call.